Hey guys, figured I'd make a bit of a video kind of describing what the process has been like for me as someone who's previously dealt with inpatient care. When I was trying to join the military, just looking online, I really couldn't find that many sources. The only source that I could find about anybody with any type of experience in the subject is some example on Quora, but even then it didn't really add too much confidence. There are some success stories, but there are also some horror stories, so I'd figure I would describe what my process was and get a little bit more information out there because I have barely seen any content like this. So I'm hoping that anyone who had a similar situation to me would, have some encouragement from, this video and see what their odds are here. Sorry about that. I'm recording the rest of this video just a bit later, but I'm just gonna go ahead and clip it together. Hopefully it makes a good amount of sense. So my process actually started with the Army, and I explained my situation, and I luckily got a good recruiter that would work with me. Now, if you're watching this video or you've looked into any kind of content that is similar to this, you probably already know that your chances are pretty much locked to how good your recruiter is. It's just kind of the truth. I was lucky to meet only good recruiters in my experience. So, hopefully you can do the same. I will warn you now, if you don't have a recruiter that is relatively enthusiastic to help you out and get you through the process, you should try to find another recruiter. You can stay in contact, you can be as polite as possible, but really the branch that would get you the most enthusiastic recruiter is the branch you should go with, especially if you're dealing with this kind of process. I started with the Army because people told me that they were the most accepting. And that very well could be true. But I was big on either the Army or the Marines, and I didn't even try with the Marines because I was told that they're very selective. But that'll change over time. I started my process with my Army recruiter, and he was very enthusiastic to try to get things to work for me. The whole process started with a very wild goose chase kind of adventure, you could say. I started getting my records from the inpatient facility for my Army recruiter. That took a while because they had to send it by paper. Apparently there's like behavioral health laws in Texas. I do live in Texas. That are in place that you can't digitally send it for some reason. I don't know. They didn't even get much verification from me before sending the physical documents. It's just they wanted the physical documents to be sent, and only the physical documents. So I was like, all right. So that took a few weeks to send. Pretty annoying because it slowed down my whole process, but it is what it is. So that arrives. I turn that in immediately. And then I have to get some records of a oral surgery that I had, because on M-Roads, which was the recruiting system that was in place at the time, I think M-Roads got replaced now with a system called Genesis. If you're not familiar with either of these, all it is a system. It's pretty serious. It's a system that pulls your pharmacy records and your medical records from, I believe, 7 years prior. I believe. I could be wrong about that, about the whole, like, how far back it does, but I know it pulls your medical records. So even if you try to, slip between the cracks, just not say anything, it's, a lot of stuff's going to come up these days, and that's just the honest truth. So it's best to approach this process as truthfully as possible. Obviously, the little stuff, like, like a speeding ticket that you got when you were like 16 and didn't, there wasn't any trouble. A minor fracture when you were like 17 from playing like, I don't know, baseball or something, that stuff you don't need to mention unless it causes some serious disability or was documented. Who cares? It would just cause your recruiter more paperwork, and it would take you longer to get in. It's just not worth mentioning. But the big stuff like what we're dealing with, or what I'm dealing with and you're hearing about me deal with, is hospital records, mental care records, stuff like that, any psychiatric care or medication. To catch you guys up to speed on what I'm dealing with, I have to tackle a PTSD diagnosis, a major depression diagnosis, inpatient care, and psychiatric care. Those are the things standing in my way. I have absolutely no self-harm records. That's working in my favor. But these are the things that I just mentioned that are, I have to struggle with at MEPS. So that's what I'm in the process of dealing with. So, I got my Army recruiter those papers, and then after that, I got him my records for my oral surgery, like I mentioned, because M-Roads had pulled my my pharmaceutical documentation that I needed Tylenol with codeine for the pain, and they didn't know what that was for. So I got the documentation for that, and they're like, okay, whatever. So continuing the process after I got those two things, then I had to get something called a psychiatric clearance letter. I couldn't find a single detail about this anywhere on the internet. So I'm hoping that this will, give some insight for anyone that has to deal with this, because I was losing my mind. I had to go through a telemedicine like organization. I don't know. I'm not even gonna say their name because they're the worst company I've ever dealt with. They spun me in circles for like 2 weeks. Massive waste of time. Do your research if you have to do something like this. Look on Facebook, look on Yelp if they have that, look on Google, look at all the reviews, make sure that you have a good doctor that tells you the truth. I had to go into this telemedicine place, and after 3 appointments, was cost $500 uninsured. I finally got my letter saying I'm in good mental standing, which was obvious from the start. I'm in great mental standing these days. I made a dumb mistake when I was a kid. It happens. But I got that letter, and after processing that letter, my social, driver's license, birth certificate, all the fancy stuff, then I'm qualified to go to MEPS. Now, I will mention, this is irrelevant for anyone that is going through this process, because the process was the exact same, but I changed my mind. I went from the Army to the Marine Corps. The process for MEPS is identical, so don't worry about that. It should be identical for everyone except for, I would probably say, the Coast Guard and the Air Force. They're very selective, and recruiters probably wouldn't waste their time on you. I'm just gonna be honest. Unless you found some like super enthusiastic recruiter who just really wanted to take up the challenge of getting you through, you could try, but I just, I suggest that you try something else, because, your chances are already like a little rocky. You're kind of pushing it with, trying to get to some of the most competitive branches out there because of how, I wouldn't say easy, but how easy it is to transition to civilian life. You go to the Air Force to get benefits and to have a good transition back to civilian life. Not to diss anyone in the Air Force, anyone who serves is, a veteran, and they're respectable, of course, respect to you. I specify Air Force because I've never met a Coast Guard individual. My recruiter even called the Coast Guard like the unicorn of the military. No one ever sees them. Respect to you guys, but I've never met one personally. But back to the relevant topic at hand. I got my papers, and then I got the psychiatric clearance letter, the weird thing that I couldn't find any info on, basically just saying I'm in good mental health, right? those two things are now what brought me to the point where I can get to MEPS. I go to MEPS this Sunday. Yeah, it is Thursday, and I'm going to MEPS on Sunday. I'm gonna get shuttled down to a hotel in San Antonio, and I'm going to process there on Monday morning. I mean, they haven't filled me in on the details, but I've done plenty of research on MEPS. So I'm pretty sure that's how it's gonna go. My recruiter's gonna brief me on how to avoid getting a psychiatric consult drawn, but I still might get it drawn. I don't know. If you don't know what a psychiatric consult is, it's basically something that you get drawn after you raise a red flag at the physical. You know, I could automatically raise a red flag with my past psychiatric history. I could not because of my clearance letter. I don't know. I don't even know. I think that the letter is to prove that I'm even worth their time. I don't know. That is still the most mysterious part about this whole process. I've never met anyone or seen any information online about this clearance. So maybe that means I don't need a waiver. I don't know. But either way, I'm prepared for the waiver process. We'll see what happens. But, if I draw my consults, I will be, I'll have to go to MEPS a second time. That's how that works. You do your physical, and then if you draw a consult, you go back a second time, and they just do another psychiatric evaluation on you, but with their proprietary doctors, I guess. And basically they give you the big thumbs up or they give you the thumbs down, and I think that's when the waiver process starts. I think you have to get like a recommendation from their doctor. I don't know, dude. All I know is I'm hoping it works out smoothly. I don't know. I'll update you guys, but that's where I'm at with the process. I'm waiting on, just going to MEPS. I'm going to be signing a few papers tomorrow just to continue the process. And that's really what's going to happen. I mean, I've seen a couple other videos detailing the, an attempt at entering medical, and then the series just goes cold. So I'm going to try my hardest to not do that to you guys, because I know that if someone stumbles across a video like this, they're probably doing it because they're really worried about their future. They want to serve, but they're worried. They want to make sure that they can, pursue their dreams. And, military service, it takes a certain kind of person to do it. But, if they want to do it, they probably really want to do it. And, I'm in that boat. So hopefully this gave a little bit of insight, especially if you're worried about entering with, some kind of psychiatric history. I will say though, if you've ever self-harmed, that is a different process. It might be a bit harder to get you in. I know that that's most likely going to be a waiver process. And, if I end up having to do the waiver process, I'll definitely document that. But here's to hoping that I don't have to do all that. But some great sources are going to be on Quora. They've given me a good amount of details, especially about this whole process. But, just do your homework, just look around and, see and try to find specific cases that are similar to yours, because, a lot of people don't have a lot of similar cases that have documentation. So, if you guys want to ask me any questions, I can definitely try to answer, but, I will, say that I will most likely have a different scenario than you. But if you have inpatient care, don't lose hope. My recruiter is 100% positive that I will get in. He is very confident that I will get in. This could be because I'm going with the Marines. I don't know yet. But that is definitely some information that might make some of you guys, a bit more encouraged. My Army recruiter was also decently confident I would get in. So, these are two branches that are very accessible. And I mean, I've also heard that the Navy is a very similar process. So Army, Navy, and Marines, they seem to be relatively willing to work with people who have this kind of history. So if you have this history, don't lose hope. I think that it's definitely worth the try. And if it doesn't work, there are other opportunities. But I would say, go at it with a decent swing, like it's worth the effort. So yeah, that's my experience so far. And I'll update you guys after MEPS. Thanks for watching.